I'm trying to unmute. Do you hear me? Ken? Yes? I'm not getting any feedback. I'm not seeing any faces, just names. Oh, okay, good. Okay. What time is it by you, Gival Nishing? Oh, it's more or less the same time, no? I don't hear. I think you're on mute. You're on mute. They can only hear me. Okay. Hi, Yoni. Good to see you. Okay, so let's continue. Friends, welcome. As we continue now, conclude Eis Vav. Yes? No, I'm sorry. Eis Hey. No, what's the Rebbe doing here? The Rebbe is being mamshich and explaining and addressing the pnimis hakavona, the ultimate intent of creation, and that is dira b'tachtonim, and that atzmos, the essence of the Eibishter himself, is invested directly here, because this world is the true Yesh Ma'ayin, as we learned in the previous year, not a relative Yesh Ma'ayin, as are the Kelim of Atzilus, according to the Shitta, that it's the Kelim are Yesh Ma'ayin, as we explained yesterday. So let's continue from the words V'zeh Mash Mavayir Admur Nishmasei Rebbe Rashab. Right? We're a little bit down on this. Hey. Oh, you say, yeah, that's it. Go down. So this is what the Rebbe Rashab says. Being in Mashiach Shalem Mishakavon Bishvil Yisrael Yonim. He explains on this subject that we can say that the kavanah of ishtalshelus is of the higher worlds and the lower worlds is the highest worlds. Because they are yerida, as we explained at length in the previous Oisius. Shapirish B'zeh explains that Rebbe Rashab, who the Ilm Esel Yonim in Yonam Gilduyim, the highest worlds are revelations, and Shazer Yerida, that's a Yerida, a descent from the Eibishter. V'gamen, moreover, Sha'atzmus Muvdul Me'inyan HaGiluyim. Okay, so we started to address this yesterday. Translation. The essence of the Eibishter is fundamentally removed, a literal translation, from manifestation. So this is a principle that the Eibishter implanted. Dafke Le'elam Hazeh, as we learned previously, the Dafke Le'elam Hazeh has the property of Mitziyusim Atzmusif and of Marash and Mittel Rebbe. The Dafke in this world, we feel this intrinsic sense of independence. How could this possibly be if it's not true? And everything must be rooted in truth, if not a corruption, but rooted in truth. And he explained, because it's really an expression of the ultimate truth, namely the Eibishter. Nothing precedes him. He is because he is. So that is invested in this world. Therefore, in this world too, we have this property of etzem. And etzem built in Mizgala, that we do not and see and can't identify, it doesn't exist be'emes in all the Eilam Ruchni. Pasha begashmis, as we explained yesterday, using the relative essence of the atom, which is a relative essence of all things. All things are made up of nothing other than atoms. But the point is, etzem built in Mizgala means when you look at the atom, you by definition cannot see what kind of manifestation. And if you're looking at the manifestation, the giloi, you're seeing a gas, a solid, a liquid, a particular shape, particular property, particular nature, then the giloi, by definition, conceals its essential nature. Or a very simple example. You're sitting in a room and there's someone outside on the other side of the room. And you're told the following: there's a human being outside. By addressing that there's a human being, which is like the relative essence, what's all relative, by definition, when you say that, this tells you nothing about the kind of person that he is. It can't. If I'm going to address the core essence of the identity, by definition, that precludes addressing a particular manifestation or kind of person. It's clear to see Bemis in the example of the atom. And again, that only exists in Elam Hazeh. This example, because in Elam Hazeh is Yesh Ma'ayin, it's only the Eibishter can create something fundamentally from nothing, as we explained in the previous shiurim. So the Rebbe Rashab continues this, and he's saying that the revelations, they actually conceal, as an expression, blinded by the light. Now, when it comes to the Eibishter himself, it's obviously it's absolute, which means to say like this: the whole notion of the Eibishter revealing himself, that's what Giluya means. Oyer means to manifest, to project one's presence. That is be'emes, a complete contradiction to the absoluteness of Einod Milvado. What does it mean he is revealed? Revealed where? I mean, even in spiritual place, in concept, there is no otherness. So, Atzim was the essence of the Eibishter is fundamentally beyond the whole notion of revelation. As we said the other day, sometimes we refer to this, the source, is the Meitzel, the Mo'er, the luminary. Meitzel means the source of all emanations. These are all levels within Oyer, ultimately. Within Oyer, meaning all levels within Hashem's decision to do the impossible, and that is give rise to manifestation and giluyim and create. But it's all really logically Akapanim, in total odds with the absolute exclusivity of God and nothing else. So therefore, you cannot say that there's any mila, any virtue in whatever revelation, even the loftiest. The only virtue is God himself, the only truth. And where is this invested? As we're explaining, Dafke in Elam Hazeh, Dafke in Bri Yesh Ma'ayin. Let's conclude, the ultimate intent is this world, so why create the higher worlds? Why create them then? The higher worlds were created in order to create the Tacht. In order there should be this notion of finite, you have to have infinite. In order to have the notion, this union of Yesh Ma'ayin, you have to have Yesh Miyesh to contrast. In order for the truth of Etzem to be appreciated, you have to contrast it with manifestation and Gilui. So they all serve all these worlds in the highest revelation. It's all because Hashem wants a relationship with you and I here in this world, which we bring about, as he says, through Iskafi and Ishapche, which means engaging the world in a godly way. First, it should surrender to what Hashem wants, and then it should transparently reveal what Hashem wants. This is what Hashem desired. What this means is, we have to remember again, I don't want to repeat that. We're never explaining why God creates. It's nonsense. There's no why. It's all about The question is not why, the question is what. Okay, you did. So what's the purpose? Here it is. What do you want with this? That's a valid question, of which which is a valid answer. What's the purpose? As we're learning here. What arose in his will that can discover by subjugating sitracher, and transforming darkness into light, which is where's the darkness and where is the sitracher? Here in this world. Shavai B'Maimer explains in the Maimer, the Frierdiker Rebbe, Shekol Avedo, what's the whole Avedo? La'apich hashtus delumazel shtus kedusha, to transform the foolishness of Klippa into the folly of kedusha, which explains at length. Just going to add an insight here. What's the ultimate shtus? The ultimate shtus, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, is that a person convinces himself, I'm still Jewish, nothing, a little not perfect, and a little misdemeanor, a little let up. But overall, I'm okay. That explains in Tanya, Barichas, that every sin has a Vedazor, etc. Now, what does it mean to transform this shtus? To transform the shtus means to not negate it, but to transform it. You are right, you're still a Jew. But what? If you will embrace be'emes, you are a Yid, then this isn't everything. You will express it in everything. Because being a Yid means, the core of it, a part of Hashem, and therefore in every fiber of our being is Hashem's desire, which is what? To be a part of our lives in everything. In everything. And to deny him a part is to deny him. So that's the transformation. We're validating the shtus. Yitaka. Yeah, it's true. You're still a Yid, despite everything. So what does that mean, despite everything? Nothing can corrupt your Jewishness. That means it's your etzem. That's your essence, that nothing in the world can change. So if you're going to honestly, not foolishly, but honestly embrace this truth, then the consequence is it's in everything. If that's your essence, then it has to manifest in everything. It's the essence of everything you do. And that's what you have to express. This is the Ata Tetzaveh. The first mime and the last mime of the Rebbe, till Mashiach comes, is intrinsically connected. Okay, we need to go further. So the Eibishter says, this is talking about Karbonis, it explains at length in the mime, offering an Evish Bahamis. So this is Nachas Ruach to me, says the Eibishter, I said, and my will was done. We draw him down, that this world becomes a home for him, and just like a dira. What's a home? When you step out of your home, you're performing, you're in some kind of engagement. You're a commuter, you're a polluter, you're a consumer, you're a buyer, you're a teacher, there's some kind of pursuit activity. But when are you? Not pursuing, not engaged in performance. Being, that's the home. The home is a place when you walk into, you have to be loved, not for your performance, because you exist. That's why a person has, Chazal say, a person doesn't have a home, his whole humanity is eroded. Ain't no other. Because all the compliments in the world, all the props in the world, if they don't address my intrinsic validity as just being, then it's all, they're props. That's what they are. And they will collapse. So the home, and this is what this is the mother. The mother carries the child in her womb. There's no engagement. It's a part of her. She loves, she gives of herself because why? Anything back, the child saps from her. She gives herself because the child is there. That's why the woman is the bias. So, Bekitzer, briefly, bottom line is a home, and why it's so critical, because the essence of the home is not about performance, but the things we do in the home. That's true. Functional. We go to the bathroom, we eat, we sleep. But the truth of it, what it really addresses is me. And paradoxically, what is that expressed in? Not in the functions of the home, therefore. It's in the pichivkas, the details, the decoration. The home would function without this kind of force that are placing it over here. Well, why is she putting it here? Why is he putting it there? That's me. So it's dafkin, what appears to be the inconsequential, non-functional performance or components of the home. That's what makes it a home, because that's what expresses the one that lives there, the Akeres Abayis and her soulmate and her family. Being. That's the kavanah, to make this world where Hashem's essence that's invested all along. But through Iskafin, Ishach, and Teda Mitzvahs, we revealed the I, the Anoichi, the essence of Hashem, Dafke, as he explained at length now, and addressing all kinds of objections. There is making sure that this, with all of his taushal, this is maskim, that the kavanah is dir betachtoinim, and it's us, der Hashvi'i. We are the ones empowered with making this world a home for the essence of Hashem. Not only do we draw down God's revelations, which is also true, but in this world, And in our Avodah is the essence of Hashem. And this is the whole purpose of the whole Ishtalshus. Now that Rabbi translates this in Avodah and Pel Mamish, let's begin. If I'm not mistaken, they were paused at this point when the original, the Fabrengen, and Nigin was sung, and then he continued. Look up and talk in Fabrengen and see they write there which Nigunim you can hear it on the tape. Although the tape you can't hear the Nigunim, but so that concludes the Maimer. In the Bisi Maimer, the end of the Maimer, the Rebbe explains. End of the first Maimer, Perek. This that the Ikar Shchina B'Tachtonim. So where was it? In the Ikar Agili Mizahi B'Beis HaMikdash. Where was the primary revelation of Hashem's essence in the world? From where it emanates to the whole world, the Beis HaMikdash. So he goes on to explain the Nizah Atam Shamishkan Matzi Shittim Dafke that the Mishkan was made from Matzi Shittim. Cedar wood, a certain kind of wood. But the word Shittim comes from the word Shtus, folly, Shita, which means to veer. Folly veers from an assumed straight given path. So why is it from Matzi Shittim? The kavanah is to take the folly of this world. And the koch von der Veshebaham is not to destroy the Nefesh Bahamis, but to take his enthusiasm and his passion and channel it lishduz the kedusha to a holiness, the folly, the madness of holiness, which means beyond cheshbon, beyond calculation, beyond agenda. Then it says every sin on a very simple level is foolish. After you feel guilty and you feel stupid and you messed up the world, everybody knows this. So why do we do it? So you get caught up with the moment. It's irrational. A rational person, Yiddishkeit is a recipe for a beautiful life, for nachas, for harmonious living. It's been around for thousands of years. It's like it stood this test of time. Morality and spirituality works. Why do we sin? Because we get this, it's irrational. Why? Because this moment right now is what has enticed me. The back of my head, I know that it's long-term damage, but I forget about the long-term, it's the here and now. And that's what the Shtus Kedusha has to be. Not to do the mitzvah because of the consequence, but because the here and now, the Eibush is asking me and begging me to be a part of his life. Not because I'm going to gain, reward, or grow all the values, but for the intrinsic value of the moment here and now, because Hashem is here, invested here, and wants me to connect him here. That's Shtus Kedusha. Meaning to say, not because of any calculation, like we're learning now the Maimer, this year's the 11th, we're focusing the 11th Perek, the whole Avodah of Nitzochen. It's everything all out for every detail. As he explains at length in the Maimer, the Rebbe explains in the Maimer, in the various Maimerim the Rebbe said over the years on this Perek. So now the Rebbe demonstrates this. Before that, Maimer as Alhan and Ishtus Elisav, he brings the Rebbe the story of Shmuel Nachmoni, if I'm mistaken. Sorry, Shmuel Rabbi Yitzchak, that he used to, Gemara brings various stories. He used to juggle with 3 hadassim at a chasana, and he would praise the kala, and Rabbi Zera said to him, you're embarrassing us, old man, with your behavior. The end was when he passed away, this pillar of fire appeared that separated between him and the whole world. The Gemara says that we have a tradition that this only happens to one in a generation. And then Rabbi Zera said, there's 3 taichin in this. But one of this so-called folly that what's this unbecoming of a sage to do to juggle, helped him, and we realized that this was really the emes avodah, the avodah of what? Of Shtus Dekdush. Avodah bittul shelamayli mitavadas, and avodah bittul, which is higher than agenda, than logic, than what is reasonable. Now the Rebbe demonstrates this with the stories that the Rebbe told of all the Rebbeim in the Maimer, and in what? The Shtus Dekdusha, the avodah of higher than tam v'das by the Rebbeim, in the union of Avos Yisrael, because that's the whole foundation. Our foundation of Kol HaTorah Kula is Avos Yisrael. So let's see what the Rebbe says. Even Ikol and Yonim Shetovim Itono, Chat Mercham Yadumur Ukebek and Sharnasim, all that which the Rebbe demanded from us, and likewise the other Rebbeim. Kimu Zebatzim, they themselves did. Well, Derech Darshis Hazal ala Pasuk, and this is similar, which the Medrash says in the Pasuk. Magi Dvor of Yaakov Chok Mishpat of Lisa, the Pasuk says in Tehillim, we said every day in davening, he relates his words to Yaakov, his statutes and his laws to Israel. So the question is, what does it say? His? Of course they're his. The Pasuk could have said, he relates words and statutes and laws. What's the his? So the Medrash says, unlike a mortal king that issues commands and he's above the law, not so the Eibishter. What he does, he tells Yidden to do. And what he commands Yidden, he does. What's v'chein? What did he just add over here? He just said, listen carefully. What he does, he tells Yidden to do, and what he commands to Yidden, he does. So in the order here, he explains that there is the arousal from above before our Avodah. He sanctifies us with his mitzvahs. So the empowerment that comes from above, first Hashem, then us, and then when we do, Hashem responds in kind and performs the mitzvah as well. So without going to a lot of arichas here, Hashem is doing the mitzvah on two levels, before we do it, and then after we do it. Even deeper as a result of us doing. But it all begins by him first, as it were, doing the mitzvah, manifesting that godliness. So likewise, the Rabbi is saying, likewise, all the instructions of the Rabbi, that which they demanded from those that are bound up with them, and have a connection to them, they also did. Why did they have to reveal to us that we should know that they did it? And after they did it, and therefore it empowers us. But knowing that the Rebbeim did it, knowing that the Rebbeim did it, so it's easier for us to also fulfill when we see that there was this the physical example in our world. Like the Avos Yisrael. There are many stories from all the Rebbeim. The Dogman, for example, the Alter Rebbe, that was Yom Kippur night, and he stopped davening, and he went, and he cut wood Yom Kippur at night. It doesn't say it here, but the Rebbe revealed this later. Several times over the years, he told the story. Bishul Morek, and he cooked a Yaichel, the Rebbe said, the Maimer soup. The Hechel B'atzmi Yeledes, and he fed this mother just giving birth. No one is holy, it all gone to shul. So the Rebbe is mafli down, the Rebbe is davening, and he in his davening, his dveikus, he feels this lonely mother that needs to be fed on Yom Kippur. This could have asked somebody else to do so. The Rebbe himself. So this is an example of Shtus Dekdusha. He everything, stopped his davening, chopping the wood, cooking the soup, preparing the soup. And then Mechakan Bodem Tzoy, like the story with the Mittel Rebbe. Somebody was by him in Yechidus, and he complained about himself. Those things that young men are disturbed by. So the Mitler rolled up his sleeve, and he said to Malitira, see, his skin had shriveled. This is from your sin. I should move on philosopher and it's understood the flaw, the wondrous exaltedness of the Mikveh in general, removed from our world, especially from such people that have a connection with this kind of failing, this kind of transgression. Nonetheless, this is the Shtuz the Kedusha of the highest order, that the Mittel Rebbe was connected with them so deeply, things that were by them that were as they should not be. Paul all of Chalishis Abrius B'Yosef affected him a great weakening, a compromising of his health. Ashet Sofad Oida Alatzmo, his skin shriveled. In the story from the Tzemach Tzedek, the famous story, before davening, he went chesed to give a lonely poshut to a simple Jew, a butcher. He could have done that after davening. He could have sent somebody else, but he did it himself. Then the story that the tells Barichas of Reb Marash Pam Mikurot leParis. He once went from he was in a Kurot, means a place where the Rabbi would go for health, a spa. It's fresh air and natural mineral water there. And he left. He went to Paris. And Nivka, the whole Tzadichas story, that he met finally this one young man who was playing cards. And he said to me, young man, non-kosher wine deadens, blocks the mind and the heart. Zaya Yid, be a Yid. And this stirred him so deeply. The young fellow went home. He had strayed from Yiddishkeit very far. And didn't rest. He came back to the Rebbe Marash. And from him descended a family of God-fearing Yidden. The Rebbe continues to say, friends, you have to hear the Rebbe say these stories. You have to hear the Rebbe say them. It's on the Gem videos, easily found, and it's translated. You can underneath. The Rebbe Marash time was very precious. Even his chassidus was said with brevity, briefly, was manim yuduyim, and certain times in Ebeshosh Ashminis Babaker, 8 o'clock in the mornings after davening for him. And nonetheless, he traveled this great distance to Paris for Zman, and it's a whole story there till he met him. And for this young fellow. Again, an illustration of Avodah in Avos Yisrael, of Shtuz Dusha, complete sacrifice for the other. For another youth. More. And likewise, the Rebbe Rashab at the beginning of his Nesiyas, the government to come out with a new decree. And he had to go, someone had to go to Moscow to appeal to the government. And his elder brother, the Rabbi Zalman Aaron, said to his younger brother who was going and who went, he said, why are you going? As man time is precious for you. He didn't speak Russian so well. He says, Razo was a linguist. He spoke Russian well and French and other languages. And you're going to have to make connections. And I said, I'm better at this. I will go in accordance with your instructions. So what's missing? But he wasn't asking. He went himself and he was successful. And finally concludes with Rabbi the Vechom. Likewise, there are stories of the Fidik Rebbe. I think the Loshen Rebbe said the mind been like endless stories. His effort to do a favor, even for an individual, aside from what he did for obviously for Yidden, Bechlal, to keep Yiddishkeit alive in Russia, but for the individual, Baruch Nisa Begashmis, Baruch Nisa Begashmis. And he completely put himself away like Tafazai. He put himself on the side. Not only his material well-being, his spiritual well-being. Even though the one for which he's helping, doing this good, we're obligated, there's a hinting here too, that you have to love your fellow, your colleague, like yourself. So there's levels to this, but the one level is it means your colleague in your world, in Torah mitzvahs. That's your chaver, that's your colleague. So the Fidik Rebbe sacrificed himself for a Jew, that never mind, it wasn't on his level. He was completely not on his level at all. So Rebbe concludes here with demonstrating the Mesiras Nefesh of the Rebbeim in Avos Yisrael, in Avodah Shtus Kedusha. We're already running out of time, but B'li we learn next Sunday night, share with a story that we know. Also, the Rebbe's whole life is this, but maybe don't know the story of the night before. The night before the Rebbe said the Maimer. Yud Shvat, Mamash Yud Shvat, Tavshin Yud Aleph. But in this union of Avos Yisrael and Mesiras Nefesh, beyond Cheshbon, could easily be achieved by another and simpler and tomorrow, etc. But it wasn't. So Be'ez Hashem, we'll share that story with you when we meet again on Sunday, Be'ez Hashem. Good Shabbos, everybody. Thanks for joining. Again, comments or questions, we're happy to address it to the best of our ability. Comments also.